going to be showing you how to change an upper ball joint on a 2002 Ford Explorer. This is a two-wheel drive version. Not going to show the video of the wheel and the lug nuts coming off. That's part of about 3 other videos of mine where I change the strut, change the lower control arm. So upper ball joint is an 18 millimeter. First thing you want to do is take that nut off. Since we're not worried about saving this ball joint, you can smack the bottom of the bolt there. You're going to deform it, but it won't matter because we're going to be pressing this out of the control arm. Another way to do this, if you were trying to save the ball joint, would be putting a pry bar in here, pushing up, leveraging the spring, pushing up against the control arm while you smack the outside of this knuckle with a sledge. Once you separate those, you can push the control arm up and just kind of move the knuckle out of the way. Make sure you don't have too much tension on your brake hose there. But then we'll get our ball joint press and we push this out. You basically find a cup to put on the top with a bevel like this that rests inside the circle of this clamp or this press. And then the bottom circle has to be big enough to fit over the top of the ball joint on the top of this control arm so it can push through and not run into this. And then what I did, instead of trying to put a spacer in the bottom here that pushes up against the shaft of the ball joint, I just let the ball joint shaft go down inside of this threaded fitting. And so now we should be able to tighten up on the bottom here, and it'll shove the ball joint up into this recessed area. So the way that worked was I put the shaft of the ball joint in through here. And then when you set this down and you drive this screw upwards like that, it's going to just push the ball joint from the bottom up. And if this cup is bigger than the ball joint, then it will allow it to press it right up out of that sleeve. Now your new part's just going to be just the opposite. You want to push it down through. So once you get it seated level, then you want to find one of these cups that will set right on the edge and push that down. And then the opposite goes for the bottom. You want that to be able to pass through. So you're going to put something like this on the bottom with a very tall cup, like this, and it's going to sit down here. So you'll have the small one on top, and it'll be pressing in, and then this sleeve will allow the ball joint to come down inside of it. So you've got your big cup on the bottom for clearance for it to push through, and then you got your small cup on top, which is going to push down directly on the rim of the ball joint. And you'll just watch that spacing, and you'll see when it seats all the way. You can see that it's seated down against this, and you can also see the track for the snap ring. And so you've got a snap ring that comes in the hardware kit here, along with the cotter pin and a new nut. But we'll go ahead and put the snap ring on, then we'll put it back in the knuckle and add the cotter pin and the nut. I don't have a good pair of snap ring pliers, so I actually just used some radiator hose tools. The holes in the snap ring are big enough to put one of these in each one. And I just use my hands and I spread them apart, slip that snap ring up into place. So now we're ready to go ahead and put the knuckle back. I'll probably need both hands for this, but you're just going to have to put it back through there with some pressure. You're going to have to hold down or use a pry bar to push down on the upper control arm while you put your washer and nut on the back side of this. We'll tighten this down and then put your cotter pin in. One last thing, this is actually a greasable ball joint, so we want to make sure we put that grease zerk in and then give it a few squirts to fill it up before we're done. A lot of times this is an 8 millimeter You don't want to over tighten it because you'll strip it out. All right, after you put a few pumps of grease in there, you're gonna clean off the Zerk, just because all it's gonna do is collect dust. Leave grease on it. And we got our nut tightened down. We're gonna put our cotter pin through. So once you put your pin in, you just bend the back side in opposite directions so it can't come out. So we've got it greased. We got it tight. All that's left is to put the wheel back on, tighten the lug nuts, and you're done. If you liked today's video, please subscribe to my channel.